So I've been going through the 8 verses of thought transformation in the last few BBCs. Seems like it's been a long time going through these, but it's very good because I learned so much from this really short text. It's quite amazing. The Dalai Lama refers to this short text as one of the main sources of his own inspiration, and he includes it in his daily meditations. So that's a good endorsement. So these verses were written by Geshe Langri Tangpa, born in 1054 and died in 1123. And the text is part of the Mahayana Lojong or mind training tradition of Tibet. So even though we recited these 2 days ago on Sunday, I'll go through the first 7 because there may be folks that aren't so familiar with them. So I'll just do those kind of quickly. With the thought of attaining awakening for the welfare of all beings who are more precious than a wish-fulfilling jewel, I will constantly practice holding them dear. Whenever I am with others, I will practice seeing myself as the lowest of all, and from the very depths of my heart, I will respectfully hold others as supreme. In all actions, I will examine my mind, and the moment a disturbing attitude arises, endangering myself and others, I will firmly confront and avert it. Whenever I meet a person of bad nature who is overwhelmed by destructive energy and intense suffering, I will hold such a rare one dear, as if I had found a precious treasure. When others, out of jealousy, mistreat me with abuse, slander, and so on, I will practice accepting defeat and offering the victory to them. When someone I have benefited and in whom I have placed great trust hurts me very badly, I will practice seeing that person as my supreme teacher. In short, I will offer directly and indirectly every benefit and happiness to all beings, my mothers. I will practice in secret, taking upon myself all their harmful actions and sufferings. And now verse 8. Without these practices being defiled by the stains of the 8 worldly concerns, by perceiving all phenomena as illusory, I will practice without grasping to release all beings from the bondage of the disturbing, unsubdued mind and karma. So in Nagarjuna's letter to a friend, he lists the 8 transitory things in life, or the 8 worldly concerns. So attachment to receiving material possessions and aversion to not receiving them or to being separated from them. Attachment to praise or approval and aversion to blame or disapproval. Attachment to a good reputation and aversion to a bad reputation. Attachment to pleasures of the 5 senses and aversion to unpleasant experiences. So all of these have everything to do with impermanence, certainly, and only for the happiness of just this life. And when our mind goes there and has that kind of motivation, then even if we feel like we're helping others or whatever, this is not Dharma practice at all, which is kind of shocking to think about. So the 8 transitory things in life can be very difficult to recognize, and there's 3 degrees of them. So the first is the very polluted. These feelings arise because of attachment to the happiness of this life, together with self-centered attitude and grasping at a truly existent me. So all 3 of those. The unpolluted, the opposite, is when they arise without either attachment to the happiness of this life or self-centeredness, but solely because of grasping for a truly existent me. And then the mixed one, which is often, I think, pretty common, it is mixed when these feelings arise without attachment to the happiness of this life, but still with the second 2 motivations, self-centered attitude and grasping for a truly existent me. So whether we are the agent or the recipient of any of these 8, we usually overreact, lose our balance, becoming excited, depressed, uncomfortable. So the edges of extremes. Giving up the 8 transitory things in life means giving up concern for these 8 things. It's not about trying to escape from our daily lives and responsibilities. So it's really about our motivation. There's a story that once when Milarepa was meditating in a cave, he saw it was leaking, so he tried to block up the holes and make the cave nice. Then he realized that concern for the 8 transitory things in life had followed him into his cave. So this verse really is saying that when we practice, we should never have the aim to gain wealth, fame, praise, or our own happiness. However, we should instead dedicate all of our constructive practices for the benefit of others. Boy, that's easy to read and really hard to do, isn't it? Ugh. So when things are going well, we can apply methods to take advantage of them and use them. And that's similar to take advantage of the precious human rebirth that we have. And when things are going poorly, we can apply the Lojong attitude training methods to change negative circumstances into positive ones. By, for instance, looking at them in a way, as a way to deplete negative karma and opportunity to develop patience. And so I think in retreat, this one can come up a lot. Our mind can go kind of berserky, and we can really kind of dig ourselves into a hole. But if we just think about this negative karma is ripening right now, and so I can develop patience with it because it's impermanent, and of course it's going to change. So I don't need to get all whipped up about whatever it is. So it's kind of with all of these that we kind of keep trying to find some balance between them, not getting so high with so much happiness and anticipation, and not going so low because things aren't going the way that we conceived of them in our mind. And I think, I don't know about you, but when I try to practice this, often there's this worry back here that I'm going to be like balanced in some middle. I'm going to kind of be dead. You know, there's no joy. But that's not accurate at all. That's just self-centered attitude trying to get me off track once again. And of course, we can also do Tonglen, which was the last verse, and thinking of everybody else who has the same type of problem. And then that gets us out of the poor me attitude that we can kind of put on top of our misery, and then we take on their problems. And so if we do that practice, that helps us to develop self-confidence and the courage to deal with negative situations. So a lot of times when our mind is disturbed, and maybe we're angry, underneath that often is fear. And so to kind of step forward into it instead of back and retreat is really helpful, because then that grows our mind and we can see that we can manage these things. And then we're starting to create a very vast mind, which is the mind of a bodhisattva and then the mind of a Buddha. So we want to keep trying to build our capacity, even if it's really scary. We try to do it anyhow. And at the very least, we're going to learn a lot about ourselves when we try it. And of course, if we can just continue to remember that this is very messy, what we experience here, because of dependent arising. Things are changing continually. So I can have the perfect idea of what's going to be, and then it changes midstream because some other thing is influencing it. And so, again, I shouldn't get all wigged out about that. It's like, well, of course, when things go just as I planned, Ooh, that's rare. I get kind of nervous, don't you? It's like, wait a minute, that usually doesn't happen so much. And so one of the great masters, I forget who it was, maybe Chekhov, he said, if we maintain purity within, we don't have to impress people externally that we are pure, like acting holy in a phony way or trying to hide ourselves away from the world. And so these 8 worldly concerns often overlap, and if we examine our honest motivations, we can identify them when they're active. So when experiencing the ups and downs of life, we can think in terms of nothing special, because experiencing these transitory things has to do with the ripening of both positive and negative karma. Things are going to go up and down, so nothing special. Isn't this our experience every day, all the time? Pretty much. So we just need to ride through whatever happens. Although we have to take these types of things seriously to the extent that we have to deal with them. The point is not to get so caught up in them so that it starts to open up the door to all of our afflictions, whatever they are. We want to think in terms of more long-term goals of reaching liberation and enlightenment, or even just benefiting our future lives. And so again, that's that usual technique of when I'm focused on one little thing and getting all whipped up about it, and I'm making myself miserable, to open up my view and think about what is the long-term goal here. And then that helps me get perspective, and I can drop these little teeny things that, mean nothing, really. And so we can do this by practicing in meditation. So first we just try to recall a specific situation, a feeling we had, and then we just try to look at it from a more objective point of view. And then we would say something like, well, there's nothing special about this. Things have gone well, things have not gone well. It's unrealistic to expect things always to go well, just as it is unrealistic to expect things always to not go well. And they say about meditation in general, to do this without hoping that it will go better or worrying that it will not go better now. We just go through life trying to build up the causes for things to go better and to purify the karma that would ripen into things going poorly. Of course, we aim for things to go better, but that's really not the point. The point is not to have these really kind of childlike attitudes when we naturally, when what naturally happens in samsara happens. It's that thing about, I have it all planned out, and then all of a sudden it's all changed, and then I react to that in a really not helpful way. And I don't know about you, but how many times do I have to go through that before I start learning about that? Of course, that's why they call it ignorance, isn't it? And it's important to try and recognize the degree to which these attitudes, like getting overly excited when things go well and getting really depressed when they don't, and to see the disadvantages of them, the suffering that they cause. And then we can start interrupting them and say, oh, no, don't do that to yourself. Not helpful, back away, drop it. And so verse 8 is saying that when we practice, we should never have the aim to gain wealth, fame, praise, or our own happiness. However, instead, we should dedicate all of our constructive practices for the benefit of others. And then when we arise from meditation, we remember the lines in the verse 8, by perceiving all phenomena as illusory, I will practice without grasping to release all beings from the bondage of the unsubdued mind and karma. And so to think about viewing all phenomena as illusory, there's many ways. The way I like the best is I think this comes from His Holiness. All environments and beings, like magicians, illusions, dreams, and the moon reflected in water, are empty of inherent existence. They appear one way. They don't exist in the way they appear. Phenomena appear inherently existent, but they don't exist that way. Though not truly existent, appearances designated by names and thoughts appear like water bubbles coming forth in water. So even though there is nothing inherently findable when I search for something, when I'm not searching, there are appearances that are designated by name and thought, and these appearances of conventional phenomena, they're appearing like water bubbles coming out of water. Now, there is nothing inside of the bubble. So we remind ourselves of dependent arising. Things arise dependent on name and thought. This decreases our grasping. If we are only concerned with gaining respect, reward, and a good reputation, the outcome of our efforts will be limited to the happiness of this life. And whatever we practice will not be authentic practice of the Buddha's teachings. So by identifying the 8 worldly concerns when they arise, we can turn the mind to others and then practice true Dharma. So let's try to do that one.